Mrs. Mallard had a heart problem, so great care was taken to break the news to her about her husband's death. Mr. Richards, her husband's friend, was at the newspaper office when the news came in. The list of dead, killed. He was the first on the list. He even waited for the second notification before he called Josephine, Mrs. Mallard's sister, to break the news. And they did. Not like a normal person would heard it, if this is the information, knowing broken sentences and veiled ideas. They whispered, and finally she got the answer. She understood that her husband was dead, and she broke into tears. She cried and wailed, and finally the initial shock was over. And so she wanted to be alone for a little while, so she went to her room, and they walked up the stairs and into her room in a really comfortable overstuffed chair. She sat down and thought for a little while, and she cried. She cried, and she thought about it. And she finally calmed down, and she looked out the window and thought, and still that surge of throbs, that sobbing came, and it did. And she looked out the window, and she could see the rain clouds coming for a spring shower, the leaves and the wind. She looked up and she could see the sky, and she could see the square and the people on the square, and she could hear the voices, and there was somebody that was singing a song out there. She heard a peddler as he walked down around the square calling his wares, and she thought, and she listened to the wind blow and the sun and the clouds. She stared off and kind of got lost in thought. And she felt something was coming. She didn't know what it was. She kept pushing it back and thought how much she loved her husband, and she loved her husband. But every once in a while, she heard the innumerable sparrows in the eaves and fluttering around, finding a place for a nest, and she listened, and the breeze came through the window. And she looked out at the clouds and the voices and the song. She could feel it coming, and she thought how much she really did love her husband, mostly. But maybe now I don't have that look across the room, or the responsibility of, here, we have to go, or it's time to go to. It's me. It's only me. She thought a while, and she kept pushing the idea back, but she could no more do it than she could push it back with her delicate white hands. It came. She would be free. Free forever. Free body and soul. No get up in the morning, no fix breakfast, no do the chores. It was only her. Forever and ever, it was only her. She would be free. Well, she heard her sister at the bedroom door, and she thought, the sister hollered in, "Now, Louise, you'll make yourself sick." "Oh, never mind, I'm fine." And pretty soon she came to the door. She was feeling better because she really was better. Sure, she was going to cry, but she was going to be free. She opened the door, and Louise put her arm around Josephine's waist, and they started for the stairs. And she said, "Everything will be fine." And about that time, someone came to the door, unlatched with the key. They started to unlatch it. It was Brent Mallard, Louise's husband. And he opened the door and looked inside. Had no idea that there'd even been a train wreck. Was miles away. And all of a sudden she turned and looked. And there he was. Grip in hand, umbrella in the other. But the doctor said, it's the love that kills.